Hey everyone, welcome to a new tier list video looking at the best champions for every role in solo queue. We had a few things shake up, even though 9.5 was a relatively small patch, but there will be a list and timestamps down below for you to check out if you want to. Before we jump into any of the roles, Neeko deserves her own little section, to be honest, since she is that strong and in most roles as well. The strongest is the AD version, so the press attack style, which is great for top lane and also bot lane. You play around the attack speed, the rage blade, and the 3-hit passive you have on your W. Support and mid lane are also pretty good, but they're more of an AP style, using the E as a setup tool and then exploding people with pure burst damage. If you want to play it, I'm going to link to my proper Neeko video below if you want to check that out, but basically she is amazing in 9.5. Starting off with AD carry as normal, Vayne is still the best choice since early game isn't really getting punished as hard and all you need is 2 items before you can kill everybody. Part of that as well is because we're now running press attack, which makes our lane phase even more deadly. You can fight a bit more and actually get ahead, and we get that healing from Taste of Blood and Ravenous instead. The new Phantom Dancer makes it even easier to play because it's really hard to kill yourself, honestly, but as long as you don't get burst and caught out of position, nobody can match your damage anymore. Against really hard lanes, it can be a lot more difficult and you will get punished, but now that your tumble cooldown is reduced while your ultimate is active, even at level 6, you can still win 2v2 fights. Draven is one that I want to mention next because he is actually a lot better in 9.5, kind of because people are moving away from Conqueror now. The new version of Conqueror was never that good on Draven anyway, but it's been nerfed a ton, so instead you've got press attack, basically the same thing, just a single target damage boost. You've also got Kleptomancy, which mainly works when you spam your W to chase people. You're getting constant gold, and honestly, the runes and inspiration like Free Boots and Biscuits are actually really good on their own. After Lucian nerfs, I think he's now the best early game AD carry that we have. You can really run over lanes and snowball massively out of control. I'm going to link to a Draven below on Mobalytics who runs Kleptomancy so you can see how it works, but also has a huge shield, rushes Bloodthirster, and has overheal together as well. The whole setup is actually really smart and it's really good. Jinx is the first runner-up I want to talk about today, who is the best lower-ranked AD carry you can play in the entire game. She's quite simple as it is. You spam your rockets, you crit for tons of damage, crit an entire team with your runes, and then power on with your passive. Getting excited and that speed up makes kiting a breeze, and it means you really don't have to think about it. Normally, when you would get like 1 kill on a normal AD carry, you'll probably get 2 because of the reset. You can chase for more. Sivir is also actually really good at getting a lead and ending the game because she endlessly pushes the lane and gets a CS lead. Most AD carries are going to get stuck under tower against her, which sucks to play, miss out on a bunch of CS, and probably lose some plates in the meantime. Let's move into our mid lane now, and you might think that I'm nuts, but Sylas is probably the best mid laner, one of the strongest champions actually in the entire game at the moment after the buffs in 9.5. He has a better heal now early, and also better ratios for both the heal and the damage parts, which means that if you max your Q, you get the most benefit from it. If you throw in a Lich Bane on him, which people are starting to do a lot more now, you're going to start bending people over left, right, and center from very early into the game. This has made his lane phase even better now. He's deadly, he heals for a ton, has some crowd control, mobility, and steals your ultimate. What more do you really want from a champion? So I think everybody should keep an eye on Fizz this patch, actually. He's kind of like Zed, get a lead and he'll steamroll over the game. But he also has that threat late game. He's not all or nothing and you can scale. You prey on anybody with low mobility, whether that's in the lane phase or in team fights. There isn't really much to say because you're just killing everybody. But if you fancy spicing things up, I have found a Korean Grandmaster player who goes Nasus Tooth into Rage Blade on Fizz sometimes. You'd be surprised how much damage this actually does. He doesn't do it very often, but it is a cool fun build I'll link to down below if you fancy giving it a go. Next up, Zed is definitely worst at the top of the ladder where it's harder to snowball, but below like high diamond, this guy is a monster now. His Q does more damage. You can swap to his shadow from further away, which lets you get ahead in the lane phase and snowball that lead. Zed has always had this issue of not being very good later, but now his earlier is better. It's easier to avoid that part and win before, and that is kind of why he's so good. Final runner-up for mid lane is going to be Zoe, who I think is an absolute 1v9 champion. Like if she plays well, there's almost nothing you can do. You also don't need your team to do very much. You can sleep yourself, find the pick, one-shot them, and then move on to the next person, and your teammates have had to do nothing. A good Zoe will hop around with summoners, will ultimate forward to find a good sleep target. The thing is, to beat her, you really need to hard engage, which solo queue is not famous for, so it makes it very difficult to play against her. Moving into our junglers now, last patch was controlled pretty much by Rek'sai, but after those nerfs we had in 9.5, Jarvan has slightly edged out now. He ganks harder than almost anybody else. Most commonly, he's going to go red into a level 2 gank, blow that flash or maybe get a kill as well, and then keep coming back to the same lane to camp them. He's got that damage part to him, which is really good so he can duel other junglers, and with a few items, he can kill people himself and not really need any follow-up. The jungle meta right now, I would say, kind of favors early gankers, so at least he has that part, but he also has some engage to use that lead he's going to get. You can keep putting on pressure afterwards as well, keep snowballing that lead, and actually keep engaging so you can end the game. Another weird thing is actually if you just look at win rate, Vi could actually be the #1 in this video. She is so good at the moment. Her early game is not amazing, nothing like Jarvan at all, but she does farm faster now and she has a better ultimate because of the buff. Her early game isn't really that amazing, nothing like Jarvan, anything like that, but she does farm faster and she has a better ultimate to use. I say better ultimate because now it does more damage to the other targets that it hits along the way. It knocks them back further and for longer, so she's much better in teamfights. I've been showing you a very normal build, but this guy actually does the solo carry style even more with a dusk-based second item. Your ratios are really high, so you will definitely use the AD and the arm penetration, but you end up crushing people and one-shotting with your ultimate. Even though Conqueror was nerfed and Rek'Sai got a bug fix, I think, this patch as well, she is still probably the best early game because of the knock-up, the damage, and the ganks that you can pull off. You're able to gank over walls, you can bypass your wards, and nobody can keep up with you, like pace-wise at least, and nobody can easily out-damage you either. If you get a lead, it's very hard to play against a Rek'Sai because you'll kill anybody probably before they even stop being knocked up, and even after the Conqueror nerfs, it is still the best option as a Keystone 4 now. Another runner-up that we're going to mention today is Kha'Zix, who has sprung back up after he dipped for a few patches, and I'm honestly not really that sure why he came back up so suddenly in 9.5. He does scale really well, which is great for solo queue, no pressure, but if you get a lead or you get a few early kills, you get your items faster and you can really hard carry. I've seen a lot more people W evolve now as well, so that you have the crazy slow, which can set up fights, you can kite people a bit more, or make sure nobody ever gets away from you. We had 2 new updates this patch. One of them was to Morgana. She had a visual update, right? So no surprise more people are playing her, but she's actually also stronger. She did get a bit more damage on her W at lower health totals, so she can be a bit more of a finisher, plus move speed towards people she's attached to with her ultimate. She's kind of ideal for any AD carry because it really boils down to, one, she can bind people obviously and set stuff up with her ultimate and everything like that, but she just puts a spell shield on them and lets them do their thing afterwards. Basically, you're stopping any form of playmaking from the enemy team. They don't have to be afraid of any crowd control either, but she's actually pretty deadly early with her binds that last a long time even during the lane phase. Even though we had Ari there on our rune section, you can opt for more damage and you can go Comet as well. This guy does that and tries to snowball by killing people more than anything else. He'll often pick up a Dark Steel early, turn that into Magi's if he's ahead, sometimes even a Sensor, but aims to always smash his lane. Nami could also be in our #1 spot, I think. She's a lane bully, but also scales really well into team fights. She can enable people to play really aggressive, like with the AD carries. They go in with the E, slows, it does a bit more damage. You trade a bit more because you can heal back up afterwards as well. It's very hard to lose lane as a Nami, to be honest. After that, you've got 2 very big bits of crowd control with Bubble and your ultimate that can definitely make a huge difference, whether that is in the lane phase or in the team fights. I think really though, this is having like the lane pressure, but also having a Sensor and Redemption going into team fights, which makes her very good in basically every single game. You can't really go wrong if you pick Nami. Thresh is also still very good, but with Morgana being in almost every single game right now, you're not going to have much fun at all. You can beat her, but it is more difficult. She stops kind of any playmaking and hook and stuff like that. You can't do your normal throw out your Q, see if it lands, and then decide what to do. You've got to work for it a bit more. You're still one of the best kill lanes in the game though. That's why you're so good. You can snowball out of control. You bring a lot of damage yourself, and you can feed AD carries a ton of gold, which they didn't use to carry. Final runner-up for us is going to be Soraka. Isn't quite as brutal as a Nami, but she does pack some serious damage. Pretty good poke and very hard to play against. Soraka will keep pretty much everybody alive unless you have some kind of gold invested into healing reduction. Sometimes it's not really enough to keep them alive, but sometimes it will be the difference maker, even with just your ultimate. You're not just a heal machine, really. Like, your silence is actually busted on its own, let alone anything else. Like, if a Zed ults in, right, you silence underneath him, he can't go back to his shadow, he can't use abilities either, so he can't do anything. Moving into our last role then, it is going to be top lane because honestly I just hate the role. I don't like playing it at all. But the best champion for this is going to be Riven. Even though Conqueror was nerfed, Riven still has an amazing win rate with it and just so many options. Spear Sojin, for example, is really good at first on her if you're not against like huge tanks or anything. But if you are, then you've got your Cleaver instead. Most people now go into Inspiration for free boost and extra cooldown reduction, which just makes it even better. But basically everything is going right for her. There are going to be some rough matchups, but since you scale so well, you don't have to win your lane. If you do, then you end up snowballing out of control, which is great, but you're always going to have a really good teamfight impact. You guys might think I'm trolling with this one, but Kayle is actually performing way better than most people think, especially in the last few days as people have kind of stopped playing her just because she's new. Kayle is pretty trash in the late phase. Nobody can get around that no matter how good you are, but if you don't die, she powers up to sort of a Kassadin level where late game you're shredding. Basically get to 3 items and you're probably going to win the game. And as people learn to play a lane phase and not die as much, that's going to become a lot more realistic. A good example actually is Cutie Pie has been using Kayle as a bot laner and a top lane, but with a slightly different rune page that focuses most especially on healing. Fleet Footwork seems to be really good on Kayle as another alternative. Less damage obviously than Lethal Tempo, but it's still amazing. Grabbing Overheal, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter, which all work together to keep you alive while you dish out the damage. First runner up today is going to be Jackson. He is going to remain in these videos guaranteed until him or Spear of Sojin gets nerfed, I think. That synergy is just way too good. It gives him everything that he needs, and as soon as he gets it, he can honestly start to tear through fights and take on like 1v2s without too much issue. It's mostly because the Counter-Strike cooldown gets so low that you're so hard to kill while you're doing a lot more damage as well, whether you're going to team fight or you're going to split push. Last one today is going to be Nasus. I think he's still one of the best champions to play top lane, especially if you're not already diamond. He can sustain a lane, he'll stack up, no pressure to do anything except not int too much, and he'll eventually run through everybody. All you have to do is get out of that lane phase, right? Stack, hope the enemy team can't get too big of a lead before you're ready to pop off. So that is going to be the tier list for patch 9.5. Thank you very much for watching until the end. Let me know if you do end up snagging some merch, no pressure, but thank you very much if you do. And thank you for watching, and for now, I will leave you with the robots.